How are you all doing? My name is VerticDesigns and welcome to the very last lesson on Photoshop. For this one, we're going to talk about the file formats and how to export your projects so that they are viewable images. To save this image as it is right now as a project, you go to File, Save As, and in here you would pretty much want to give it a name and select a file type. The file type is the actual file format itself. So what exactly is a file format? Well, in order for the computer to be able to view the image and display it, it needs to have a certain format. So for example, our project will need to be converted into a viewable format that the computer can recognize and actually view. The other options you don't really need to change, so all you got to do now is press save. We are going to overwrite this one and press yes. This message will come up and you just want to tick the first one, and if you wanted to, you can tick the don't show again. This is optional, but you then want to press OK. And as you can see, this is our image saved and it has the icon for a PSD. We can see the size by right clicking on here, going to properties and going to details, and here we have all our details for this image. And you'll notice that you don't have the dimensions. With a regular image, you will have the dimensions of the image, but since this is a PSD file, it won't have it. Let's start off with the very basic Photoshop. This is PSD, short for Photoshop document. A Photoshop document is designed to not compress your project down, and it will keep it in its original format. So for example, it will keep all the layers which you had before, and you can always reopen it, go back to it and change anything you wanted to, and then export it again to some other format that you wanted to. This is known as lossless because it doesn't compress any of your project down. It keeps it at its original 100% quality and the way it was when you originally started to edit it. The only limitation that this format has is that the file must be smaller than 30,000 times 30,000 pixels, and it must be a maximum of 2 GB. It does, however, support 8-bit, 16-bit, and 32-bit. You're probably wondering, what exactly should I do if my project is much larger than a PSD file and you can't save it as a PSD? Well, that's when you go on to PSB. This is for large document format. And this will allow you to have 300,000 pixels times 300,000 pixels. The file format can be much larger than 2 GB. It is also lossless, the quality remains the same, no compression, all the layers are saved, and it is also supported by 8-bit, 6-bit, and 32-bit. So it's basically the same as PSD, however, it is much larger and it is less limited. You have more freedom with this one compared to PSD, but most of the time, PSD is absolutely perfect for most projects that you use. So the next one is BMP. This is known as Bitmap, and the reason why this one is used is because it used to be compatible with Windows only, but now has become compatible with Macs as well. The way it works is that it stores image color data, and this just gives you that nice, crisp, high quality graphics and gives you that really good result. It is also lossless, so it means there's no compression, but the only problem is that you'll have large file sizes, and this can be a big problem obviously if you wanted to save it for web or use it for something else. And the other limitation is that it's only supported by 8-bit. You know those GIF animations that you keep seeing, or those memes that are just playing on repeat? Well, they're GIF images, and GIF is short for Graphics Interchange Format. It is only limited to 256 colors, but it's mostly recognized by ComputerServe and the World Wide Web. You would see this quite often on websites like Twitter and Facebook and pretty much any other website that is on the World Wide Web. It is an animated and looped image. It is small in file size. It's lossy because the file size is compressed, and it is only supported by 8-bit. Here's the one that you keep hearing all the time, JPEG. This one is short for Joint Photographic Experts Group. JPEG is a format that was created in order to help people make their images much smaller in the file size. The reason for this is because JPEG is lossy, which means it will compress down the quality in order to make the file size smaller and easier to manage. It makes it a lot easier to upload images to web. It makes it easier to transfer files. This one only supports 8-bit, so you can't go any higher than that. If you're going to have let's say, an image that is 16-bit, you would then have to use a different format because this one will not support it. So let's actually use it. This one though, it can be a little bit confusing because there's 3 different ones. You have JPEG, JPEG 2000, and JPEG Stereo. You want to always click on the top one because JPEG 2000 is like an older version and JPEG Stereo is used for something else. If you want to do more research, you can always search it up and find out more about it, but we're going to click on this one. We've already got the name and then we're just going to press save. This will bring us this screen right here, and this is the JPEG options which you have available. The first one you don't really need to change because this is for if you wanted to, let's say, make it black or white or give it 50% gray. Next up, you have the image options. So here is the actual quality itself. The very lowest is 0 and the very highest is 12, which is maximum. And you have low, which is 3, medium, 5, high, which is 8, and then maximum is 10. You can even go above that and go up to 12. So 12 is the very maximum that you can have. You could tick here so you can preview the actual size itself. So as you can see, this image will be 895 kilobyte. Most of the time, you don't really need to change this one. I always use the top one, but if you wanted to, you can go with baseline, optimized, or progressive. And progressive will allow you to change the number of scans. All you got to do now is press OK, and now you have your image saved. I didn't really compress it down, but it still compressed the image to 890 kilobytes. Another file format that is similar to PSD is Photoshop RAW. Photoshop RAW is a way of transferring your image data into the image itself, but this will not have any filters whatsoever. It is the raw file size. It is the raw image it was when you originally took it. A little bit more confusing, but imagine you took a picture and your camera didn't add any effects to your image. It was absolutely clean. There was no filters, there was no adjustments, no focus, no nothing. This is what Photoshop RAW is. It's a way of transferring that image without having any of these fancy effects or anything. This one is supported by 8-bit and 16-bit images. Moving on to the next one, and this one is my favorite one that I always use, and that is PNG. PNG is short for Portable Network Graphic. This format is lossless, which means there is no compression whatsoever. The image quality stays at 100%. The only problem with this is that sometimes you can have problems with the file size. It can be a lot bigger, but there is little compressions that you can do to the format. The other great thing about PNG is that it supports transparency. So if you had, let's say, an image where you've removed the background, you can save it as a PNG and the background will not be there. So that is a great benefit of PNG. It will pick up the transparent pixels and it will not include them. So let's just save this. We've already got the name. We're just going to press save. And here is the compression option that you have. Originally, if you leave it on none, it will be quick. It will save a lot quicker. But the problem with this is that it will be a lot more bigger. So it is good to use the smallest / slow. And for interlance, just keep that off. Don't use it. You want to press OK. As you can see, this is the image that we just saved. And like I said before, it is much smaller compared to if we had it on none. And of course, the very last one we have is TIFF. This is short for Tagged Image File Format. A TIFF is used for, let's say you wanted to save your image, which is 32-bit, and you wanted to save in high quality with no compression. You would use TIFF because this one is lossless. It supports 8-bit, 16-bit, and 32-bit. And yeah, just like before, similar to PNG, you select this format, you press save. You'll get this screen, which will come up. And this is when it's going to be a little bit more confusing because you do have a compression option if you wanted to. So you have LZW, zip, and JPEG. Now, I'm not going to go over these ones, but I will put a link so you can read them, what they do and what they are, the difference between them. But the rest of them, you just leave them. You press on OK. Include layers will increase file size. Yes. And there is TIFF. A GIF will have two ways that you can save it. You can have a fixed GIF, which will not move, and you can have a animated GIF, which will move. And we give it a different name. So if we give it a number 2 next to it, press save, it will give us this quick little screen, which will allow us to change the color. We can have it in black and white if we wanted to force it, but we'll put it on none. So we have it colored. You can have transparency. You can have the palette. So you can have it for web, uniform, or whatever you want it to be. You then press OK. You click on normal and press OK. And there we go. We've got it saved right here. When it comes to Photoshop, you also have other ways of saving this and exporting it. So if you go back to File, you will have Save, you'll have Save As, and Export. Export will have Quick Export as PNG, Export As. If you wanted to, you can easily Quick Export as PNG, but that is only one format. Export As, this will allow you to have other options. So you'll get this screen right here, and it is a more detailed screen compared to saving it as normal. So here you have some options. You have the format here, PNG, JPEG, GIF, SVG. You have the transparency option, the file itself. So if you wanted it to be smaller than 8-bit. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So this is what the image will look like. It'll be called mountain. It'll be PNG. It'll be 800 times 800, and the size will be 1.1 megabyte. All you do then is go to export all if you got multiple ones, but we've only got one, and then you just pretty much click save, and then you have your image. And there it is. This is our image. Now, this is the interesting one. So if you wanted to save your image as GIF, you would have to go to export and save for web. In here, it will give you this screen, which will look confusing at first, but the only other options that you would need to change is this one right here. These are the file formats. So you have GIF, JPEG, PNG 8, PNG 24, and I'm guessing this is the bit size, and you have the very last one, but you normally leave it on GIF. You can tick transparency if you needed to. You have the color options right here. This is the maximum colors that you can have. If you wanted it to be limited, you can always pick a number, or you can type it in. And this is an example of the colors it will use. This is the one that you'll actually focus on, the image size. So 800 pixels times 800 for height, the quality, and the percent. You can also have some other animation options down here. If you had a animation playing, you can change the options here. So if you wanted it to loop once or twice, 3 times, or infinity, you would go in here and change it right there. You can even play through each slide or each image. Once you're happy with everything and you're ready, you can then press save, and then you want to find a location. So we're just going to call it mountain GIF. We'll leave the format as it is, and we'll leave the settings as default. You then press save, and there you go, you've saved it as a GIF image. And that is pretty much it. That has been the very last lesson on Photoshop. I might do more in the future or just separate videos. And yeah, I hope it was helpful. I hope you got some information from it. I hope you got some useful information from it. If you'd like to see the previous episodes, you can always click on the screen, or there'll be a link to the playlist in the description. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye-bye.